All right, what's going on, everyone? Welcome back to yet another video here on 27 Outs. I, of course, am Ivan alongside Stefan. We're finally down to the League Championship Series in both the National League and the American League. But, of course, in this video, we're going to get into the National League side of things. And there were two. It's down to the LA Dodgers and the New York Mets. By the way, before you take it away, Stefan, I just want to remind Mets fans that, let me show these guys this shirt really quickly. See that? See that? See that? So treat this as if it were 1986 all over again.
Boy, are we in for a treat. We are in for a treat. These are two teams that, I don't know about the Mets being here. That's the fun part of this, but the Dodgers almost felt like they had to be here.
Of course.
And so watching the Dodgers navigate their pitching issues, rotation issues, bullpen issues, just everything to be here is a testament to just that organization, how great it is, how great a manager Dave Roberts is, just getting his guys to believe we can get here. And credit to the Padres for playing them tough. They played them tough to the very last game. They were in the game, and it's just the Dodgers, for some reason, they just find a way to get to this part of the season. The question is, can they finish this? Because those boys in Queens, they ain't going to give this to you.
Yeah.
You're going to have to take it from them. So
I'm glad you started with that, because I wanted to share something, and I don't know if this is something that you or whoever's watching right now may have heard of already, but I was listening to Mookie Betts and what he said during his post-game interview after the Dodgers, of course, won that Game 5 to advance to the League Championship Series. And he said something that I thought was a little funny, and I definitely want to hear your thoughts on this, Stefan. He said,
you know, what's crazy is all season, everybody says the Dodgers are winning the World Series, Dodgers are winning the World Series, and then we get to this series, and now we're the underdog. Somehow we become the underdog.
If you really take a step back and really think about that, I mean, it's pretty easy, right? Like, Mookie Betts did miss a significant amount of time. Yamamoto didn't turn out to be exactly what you guys thought he was going to be. In fact, he was far from that. But I won't hold him against that. I won't hold that against him, excuse me, because it's year one. Perhaps year two and year three down the line would be better. But not just that, of course, Tyler Glasnow, right? This is a guy who they gave an extension to. They definitely see him being here for the long haul, and he is not even available for them at the moment, right? So like you said, credit to them for just figuring out how to find a way to get here. But for Betts to say that is like, dude, you guys went through some things, you know?
Yeah, but he also sounds a little naive. The 5, 6, 7, 8 part of your lineup is hot garbage.
Es basura. Es basura. Es basura.
We forgot Will Smith was one of the worst offensive catchers in the National League this year. Max Muncy didn't play for almost 3.5, 4 months.
He's also an older guy, too.
Like, what? Don't act like, oh, I was surprised. Why were you surprised? Why? You got 3 hitters in your lineup. Everybody else is average to below average. Are we surprised to know that you guys finally woke up and did what you had to do? Look who won them the game last night. Kike Hernandez and Teoscar Hernandez hit 2 solo homers, and that was your offense.
Right.
If you would have told a Dodger fan at the start of the season, yo, you're going to win Game 5 of the National League Division Series by 2 home runs by 2 unlikely individuals, not named Ohtani, not named Betts, and not named Freeman, they would have looked at you like you stole something from their house. You committed a crime against me right now.
Great
what are you
point.
talking about? You need to be drug tested. What do you mean? What Jay-Z said, you sound a little naive in them articles that I read. You know what I mean? You sound a little naive. And I still got the Mets beating them in the next round.
I do. And I want to bring something up that I have already shared over the past 24 to 48 hours with certain Mets fans. The Mets and the Dodgers, when you look at the two rosters on paper, are Not really in the same sentence, even though they're in the National League Championship Series. And let me elaborate on that. What I mean by that is when you look at who's on the Mets roster as opposed to who the Dodgers have, more often than not, I think a lot of people are going to lean more towards the Dodgers side, right? You just mentioned a few guys there, Stefan. I don't even want to add on to that because it's self-explanatory. But here's the good thing.
No,
the game is not played on paper. It's played on the field, and the Mets have been the better team when it comes to just strictly playing baseball, regardless of the names on the roster.
Got you, but I'm gonna do you a favor real quick because it might be self-explanatory to me and you, but there's a lot of people who are watching baseball this time of year that don't really follow these rosters as in-depthly as we do, right? So while it may be easy for us to rattle off the names, for the average person, do you really know who Teoscar Hernandez is unless you sit there and have watched the Dodgers and have watched baseball for the last couple years? No. Do you know who Kike Hernandez is? No. Do you know who Gavin Lux is? No. Like, this is the time where you get the casuals who don't watch all 162 games to come in and watch your product. So I understand what you meant with it. The rosters are self-explanatory because the star power lean more towards the Dodgers because you have Shohei Ohtani, Mookie Betts, Freddie Freeman. You have all that, but you also have guys like Andy Pages, who is a rookie for the Dodgers, who the Dodgers like a lot, who's a defensive wizard and who they think is going to grow into be a pretty good ball player. Like, I think we do have to break down the guys that may step up from a other standpoint. You know how
Right.
there's in sports, the stars are gonna be stars, but who are the others are gonna step up and make an impact? So do we get another night from Teoscar Hernandez like we got in Game 5 against the Padres? Do we get another Kike night like that? Do we get the Dodgers bullpen pitching at this clip where they were just unbelievable last night? Yamamoto was unbelievable last night.
Yeah, I think that's as good as he's looked all season long.
Right.
And to be honest, I mean, why not let it fly in one of the biggest games, and I would say this year for the Dodgers, the most important game at that.
What I'm going to tell you is right now, if that's the Yamamoto that they're getting for the rest of, even if he's averaging to below average in the regular season, but if this is the Yamamoto you're getting for the playoffs, boys, he worth all that money.
Now, that's the tricky part, Stefan, because I think in that series that the Dodgers had against the Padres, we saw two versions of Yamamoto, right? Obviously, in Game 5, you saw the version, and the Dodgers, of course, saw a version of Yamamoto that they would sign up for every fifth day, right?
Right.
But on the other hand, Yamamoto also was the Game 1 starter for the Dodgers, and he gave up 5 runs.
He got lit up.
I think we're at a point now where it's really a toss-up, right? It could go either way. He could get rocked by the Mets, or he could go out there and look like the Yamamoto who came from overseas.
Well, here's the thing, right? Yamamoto's clearly the best starter that the Dodgers have. The reason why I give the Mets the edge in terms of everything else, even the lineup, I think the Mets lineup is better. Because you could have Ohtani, you can have Betts, and you can have Freddie Freeman. But I'm talking about overall length of lineup.
Yeah.
The Mets just feel like they got something that you don't want to deal with. I got to deal with Lindor. I got to deal with Iglesias. I got to deal with, listen, I don't care what type of slump JD Martinez has been in from now to the end of time. He's a veteran. It is the playoffs, and this guy is a big game player. I do not want to deal with him. Pete Alonso's already showing you I'm out of my slump. I hit 3 balls the opposite way that haven't landed yet. One still flying in Milwaukee right now. The other 2.
Mark Vientos also has been very huge for the
Mets. Mark Vientos is another one.
He's made some silly mistakes at third, which happens. But he has made up for it.
I don't know if I would call them silly mistakes though, because put a 24-year-old that's never played third base in his position and see if they make the same mistakes he made.
Right.
He's never played there before. Like there's a learning curve that has to be established with this, right? Like we can't just assume, it's a silly mistake. But I'm like, the game's faster now. It's the playoffs. You want to make every single out to get your starter off the mound. Because what does that mean? Now he got to throw more stress pitches. Now Severino has to be perfect. Now Senga got to be perfect. Now McGill got to be perfect. Now everybody that gets the ball, if he makes a mistake, has to be perfect. So I'll put it to you this way. Overall roster, I'm taking the Mets over the Dodgers minus the star power, because to me, star power doesn't usually win in October.
No.
Stars may get you to October, but stars don't win in October.
They usually fizzle out.
Right. And I think that's where you have to kind of get yourself mentally prepared. Yo, Brandon Nimmo may be a game changer for the Mets.
I think, call me crazy. You mentioned a couple of guys, but outside of the two most obvious ones in that lineup being Francisco Lindor and Pete Alonso, I think the Dodgers just might get it from anyone. Vientos, Jose Iglesias, Brandon Nimmo.
JD.
I mean,
JD
Alvarez might
Martinez.
take you deep.
Right,
JD Martinez. We could really go on here. Whereas on the flip side, you look at the Dodgers, I don't think they're capable of winning a series that way.
See, here's the thing with the Dodgers.
I think they need their stars to shine, especially in this series.
If Will Smith shows up, if you get something from Will Smith, Gavin Lux, and let's say Max Muncy shows up and has a series, then everything we're saying is moot. But you need those three in particular. Will Smith, the catcher, Max Muncy, whether he's going to play third or first, you need him to show up. And here's a caveat that's very important for this series. Freddie Freeman's ankle is shot. He's playing with an oblique strain, and he's also playing with an ankle injury. So if you're Dave Roberts, do you tell Freddie Freeman, yo, as much as I appreciate what you're trying to do, let's put Max at first base and give you a little time to get yourself together. And if we make the series, then we'll put you out there? Because what good is Freddie Freeman if he can't move?
Right, I agree.
Because you also need Freddie Freeman on the defensive end as well. It's not just his bat, but his glove, what he provides, the errors he saves. Max Muncy might be the move if I'm the Dodgers.
Right. And also, too, one more thing I want to say. When you look at the top three pitchers that both of these teams are probably going to go, out there with, on the Dodgers side, Yamamoto, Jack Flaherty, Walker Buehler. On the Mets side, I know they said Kodai Senga is pitching for game one, but you can't really expect much from him. He might give them maybe an inning extra or two. So I think their three at the end of the day is Sean Manaea, Luis Severino, and Jose Quintana has done a hell of a job in his last two starts.
And I'm going to tell you something. Tyler McGill and David Peterson out of the bullpen have been sensational. Let's not forget what they've done out of the bullpen. Tyler McGill has looked filthy. David Peterson has looked filthy. The question then becomes, for both of these teams, how do we get the ball to Michael Kopech, and how do we get the ball to Edwin Diaz?
Oh boy, do you really want to?
No, I have a crazy solution for both. If it was me, Kodai Senga would not be starting. Kodai Senga would be my setup man to get the ball to Diaz and say, "Hey man, here, take the ball and get us where we need to be."
I like that.
That's what I would do. Now, you can't do it every day because he's not used to pitching every day. But if you could get him every other day, like, supercharged bullpen piece. If you're going to give us 2 innings to start, why don't you give us 2 innings at the end? And remember this, folks. The Dodgers haven't said it. They haven't announced it. This is purely speculative on my part. Shohei Ohtani will pitch for the Dodgers at some point in this series. I don't know when, I don't know how, I don't know why, but he will come out of the bullpen in the big spot. If not now, then in the World Series. Because if you hear the stories about this guy throwing bullpens, like full-on bullpens in uniform,
I've heard.
Getting it in, and I'm like, oh, you want to pitch when it's money time. Right. You ready to go. You know what I'm saying? So I wonder if Dave Roberts, Andrew Friedman, Mark Pryor, if they're all sitting there with the itch. You know when you get the itch? You get the itch, and you're like, yo, I'm dying. I want to see this guy do his thing. Like, he can be a game changer, because then if you tell me Ohtani is pitching in the 8th or the 9th inning, like he did in the WBC for Team Japan, I would not be surprised.
Yeah, right.
And that's a game changer.
I've got a question for the Mets. Since the start of these playoffs, I feel like the foundation of their success has been Francisco Lindor. My only concern is if Francisco Lindor cannot maintain this throughout the rest of this series, or if they were to perhaps advance to the World Series, where are the Mets going to get the heroics, I would say, because we've seen other guys do it. But again, Lindor, even when Lindor does not get the big hit, right? Remember that walk?
Yeah.
I forgot what game it was.
It was against the Brewers. The
Right.
Devin Williams walk to get everything started.
Exactly.
That's when Francisco Lindor just being a presence in the lineup is going to change the way you look at that Mets lineup. That grand slam already showed you, yo, my back goes, but we playing full bore out here. Fuck that 50-50 season. He's the National League MVP.
I agree. And I'm going to say this right here on the show. Francisco Lindor has been the best player this postseason.
I could make the argument he's been the best player in baseball for the last 4 months. If you think we're caping for the Mets because we're a New York-based show, then you know what? Too bad. Look at where the Mets were at the end of May. They were 22-33. They were 11 games under. This guy, he turned into Goku.
He went Super Saiyan.
Yo, he went crazy.
Yeah.
And it hasn't stopped. The playoffs hasn't slowed him down.
And the crazy thing is, too, when you speak to Lindor, you hear, what he says in these interviews and just his body language, his mannerisms overall. It's just another day in the office for him.
He hit that. Yo, if it was me and you, just think about how crazy we would have went if we had a grand slam to get our team to the.
Forget about it, bro.
Yo, I'd have carried the bat around the bases with me. This guy hits the home run. He's running around the bases like it's a regular day in May. And I'm like, that scares me.
I also think him being here before and having done that same exact thing back when he played with Cleveland.
Yeah.
I think that plays a big role, too.
That scares me because that's a guy that the moment's never too big. Right. He don't care about the moment. The moment's never too big.
I think he wants it, in fact.
Oh, of course. Yeah. Now, I'm going to tell you, the Dodgers bullpen, we laid it out. The Dodgers bullpen, you got Evan Phillips. You got Michael Kopech. I don't know what they're going to do with Alex Vesia because he left the game with an injury yesterday. What does it mean? How healthy is he? Do they get Brewster Gratterall back before the start of the series? Don't know that yet. Does Ohtani going into the bullpen change the way the Dodgers approach this series from the standpoint of at least he's available to give us an inning or two?
Yeah, very similar to like what the Mets are doing with Kodai Senga, probably.
That's that. See, but instead of starting a game, the Mets should have said to him, yo, Kodai, when you come back, the 2 innings you're going to throw, it might be in the 5th, it might be in the 7th. Don't come back as if you're starting a game. Come back as if you're just a fireman. That's going to literally pitch wherever we put you because we might need you in a certain spot. Because the last thing you want to do is ask Edwin Diaz for a 5-out save.
I said something about Edwin Diaz in one of our previous videos. I'm going to say this again. I don't know how much longer Edwin Diaz can continue to get himself out of these jams that he himself gets himself into. I mean, for me, I kind of see it as a ticking time bomb. Yeah. And if he doesn't figure it out, it's only a matter of time where you're going to walk the first 2 guys up in the lineup and that third dude is going to send you shit.
And here's the thing. You fuck around with Ohtani or Betts, they might both go yah on you and you just blew a game because they both took you 400 and plus feet. Right? So this ain't the lineup to be walking and doing that shit you do. Because if you do it to these dudes, you going to pay for it.
Right.
All that being said, we hear all that. I'm taking the Mets in 6 games.
I agree. I got the Mets winning the series. I think 6 games is fair. I would love 7 as a baseball fan, but I think the Mets are just. I don't even think they're on planet Earth, bro. I think they only come to. Here's what the Mets do. They are on another planet when it's off days, when they're not playing, but when it's game time. That's the only time they come to planet Earth.
That sounds like a solid plan. And listen, Carlos Mendoza should be up for NL Manager of the Year.
Oh, man. Hell of a job, man.
If he isn't, that's a crime against anybody that's voting for this position. Hey, man, I think we dissected this pretty good.
As always, make sure you like, comment, share, and definitely subscribe for more videos. And also, feel free to comment below with who you guys have winning the series. If it's the Dodgers or the Mets, it doesn't really matter. It's a toss-up, right? The Dodgers could go in there and Who knows? Maybe it's Dodgers in 6, right?
Who knows?
The one thing I would say before we go, Stefan, and I know you will agree with this, and so will everyone else, these playoffs, this season in 2024, have shown us that damn near anything can happen.
This has been unbelievable. We're hoping for more unbelievability. Me and this guy will be locked in, texting back and forth. This is going to be must-see TV if you're a baseball fan. As I like to say, we ain't got to go home, but we got to get the hell up out of here.